Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back. We're going to begin reading chapter 2 in Mary's Message to the World, written by Annie Kirkwood. Chapter 2 is 40 pages long, so my plan right now is to read the first 20 pages in this video, and then we'll read the last 20 in the second video. And hopefully we don't have to break these chapters up into more than 2 videos. I hate to drag a book along, but I also don't want to rush it just for the sake of completing it. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, chapter 2 focuses on something we spoke about briefly in chapter 1, and that is Mary's predictions for the world. We're not just talking about things to come as far as earthquakes and natural disasters. We're also talking about political things. And a lot of these things have already come to pass. So if you're curious after reading these, because we are going to get some very specific dates, you can actually go back and Google them and see if they indeed happen. Now, keep in mind also that nothing is set in stone. The human collective has the power to shift and prevent things from happening with their thoughts, words, and deeds, or can cause things to happen with their thoughts, words, and deeds. When there are enough of us that sit in a place specifically, that is how the deck will fall. So we'll go ahead with knowing that in mind. If you believe that as well, you may want to keep that into account. Chapter 2, Mary's predictions. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is sending the people of this world predictions for the future. These predictions are only a part of the message that Mary has been sending for over 200 years. But the message still has not reached the people of the world. She is doing this to forewarn us of the dangers that we can expect in the near future, to establish the credibility of this work, and for those who believe to have time to prepare for these events. Mary is very concerned for both the spiritual well-being of mankind and for its physical well-being. These are only the predictions. The main message is to return to God. The details of the message and what we can individually do to prepare are in other chapters. Annie was very concerned that the details in this chapter might not come true on the exact dates, or at best would frighten people. She was very hesitant to even include this chapter, but others felt that important detailed information would lend credibility to the book. Annie asked Mary, and her reply was, "Annie, I hear your concerns about giving the dates of the predictions. Understand that these predictions can be alleviated and lessened with prayer." There we go. Pray for the people of the world to turn to God the Father. In this manner, some of the predictions can be eased. With more people praying more often and intensely, the severity can be lessened. Now, I have not read this book, so that was just a belief that I carry that I'm reading to you. I did mention in my short that I read this book many years ago, but I did not read it in its entirety, and we're talking at least 10 years ago. But the belief that I just shared with you about the human collective and our thoughts is something that I've believed for a very long time. This section is titled The Predictions, and they are numbered. So, the first prediction. There will be increases in the frequency and activity of earthquakes and volcanoes, many in areas where earthquakes have never happened before. Number 2. Weather patterns will change dramatically all over the world. The winter months will be colder and in many areas wetter. The ocean currents will be changing and the magnetic fields of the earth will be moved about. Barometric and magnetic fields will set new records. The animals on the land and the sea will be dying off in great numbers, and many wild animals will become extinct. Number 3. The polar ice caps will begin to melt and large chunks of ice will break off and become a danger to ships and to seashores. The melting polar caps will cause the water level of the oceans to rise, changing the seacoast around the world forever. Number 4. There will be increased UFO activity. During the Christmas season of December 1990, there will be many strange occurrences in the sky. There will be unusual sun and sunspot activity. There will be unusual lights coming from space, like none which have ever been seen on Earth before. Debris from space will land on Earth, causing craters and changes. So December of 1990, many strange occurrences in the sky, if you want to look that up. Number 5, Pope John Paul will soon return to spirit, and another pope will also follow in the way of the church. Number 6, Mary will increase her apparitions throughout the world. Number 7, there will not be a third world war. The countries of the world will be too concerned with sustaining themselves against the elements to wage war. Hold on one second. There we go. Number 8, there will be famines in those lands which have had the most wars. And number 9, after the turning of the earth, there will be two suns. This will become a binary solar system. So this is a solar system that has two suns instead of just one, as we are accustomed to. And there was an article about this in the Dallas Morning News, Monday, August 22nd, 1988, front page. That is, I haven't gotten there yet, sorry. The solar system part, yes, we read about, so we'll have two suns. The second prediction was in a paper, so let's read the immediate predictions. These are predictions which have been given and are happening while these individual messages were being assimilated into book form, which is the summer of 1988 through the summer of 1989, up to about 2 years from now. So when this book was written, keep in mind, messages received early to mid 1980s, book written in the late 1980s, published in 1991. Even as this information was being received from Mary, the weather patterns had changed and the news media were reporting the greenhouse effect. In her message sent on July 19th of 1988, Mary predicted that there would be earthquakes in India. On August 22nd, 1988, our newspaper reported at least 550 die in quake, India. In India, Nepal rocked by strongest tremors since 1950, and that was the front page article of the Dallas Morning News, Monday, August 22nd, 1988. Mary told us about the changes that would be happening in the weather patterns. During the days these messages were being received, Hurricane Gilbert occurred in the Gulf of Mexico and was described as the biggest hurricane in history. Mary told us, "You on Earth have just begun to see the fury of these storms." The storms, which will come this year and next year, even though they will increase in size, will be nothing in comparison to the future storms which will lash the globe. In Mary's message on August 6, 1988, she told of unusual sunspot activity, and she also mentioned that the northern lights would be seen further south this winter of 1989 than usual. During the first week of March 1989, there was increased sunspot activity. And it says intense solar flare may threaten broadcast waves coming from, I think it's a news channel of DMN. And on March 13th, 1989, the northern lights were seen as far south as Chicago and Dallas. On at least 2 occasions, Mary told how the melting polar caps would cause the coastlines to change. On Easter Sunday, which was March 26, 1989, Byron was adding some of Mary's latest predictions to the book. Annie opened the Sunday paper and handed him a section with the rising tide. Researcher links Antarctic ice to retreat of Texas coastline as its headline. It is uncanny how the predictions we had already received were happening as this book was being assimilated from the daily messages. I lost my place here. Okay. These are just a few of the events that happened in time to be included in this book. Mary's prediction is that the next major event will be an earthquake in Italy. Throughout the receiving of these messages and the assimilation of the messages into book form, Annie has had a problem with the predictions. She feels responsible for them. She doesn't want to mislead anyone. She had read a book by another woman who had received a similar message, but this woman's predictions didn't come true at the appointed time. Annie doesn't want it to appear that she has made false prophecy. When she explained this to Mary, Mary said, "These are not your predictions, they are mine. These words are my words, and I have merely sent them through you. Be aware that I will take full responsibility for these predictions. They will certainly happen as foretold." In Mary's own words, "Just as this summer season has been unusual for those of you in the top half of the globe, so will the winter season be unusual. There will be snowfall in places which have not often had snow, and in those places which usually have snow, it will be below average. The ocean currents are now churning and just beginning to change their direction. The British Islands will most likely be the first to notice the changing currents. The people of these isles will experience much wetness and more cold than usual. Look at the globe as a huge ball filled with water. If you could begin to stir the inner water, you would be able to see the changes which will be occurring on Earth. For the core of the Earth has started to spin and churn. Visualize this ball as its center begins to spin. At first, the surface would not feel any effects, but as the spinning became more pronounced, you could see the wobbling the ball makes. This wobbling is what will cause the ocean currents to flow in different patterns. These changes in the ocean currents will affect every shoreline. The fish and mammals will be confused and some will act differently. The tides will become out of sync. There will be so many changes in the weather and oceans that the government officials will have to notice. The planet is already beginning to have some violent reactions to inner stirring which is occurring deep in its core. All of nature will be in an upheaval from now on. Many new records will be set. Many unusual events will be reported. The fact that they are not publicized does not mean they are not happening. It simply means that those in authority are not willing to admit they do not have the answers. Whew, that's true. This winter of 1989, look for the northern lights to be seen further south than usual. The sights and signs from the sky will include these phenomena. Excuse me. There will also be reports of unusual sun activity. The stars will be giving off different beams which will be picked up by your scientists. There will be unusual meteor showers, brilliant lights coming from outer space, which cannot be identified by your learned ones. Also, those civilizations which are on other planets will be appearing in record numbers. More and more people will see them, and photographs will be taken by high-ranking officials. World hunger will be increasing. Worldwide damaging winds will occur in many lands. The oceans will churn with out-of-season storms. Everything will commence to be strange to you on Earth. The earthquakes, which will begin on the eastern seaboard of America, will take place infrequently. There will be small tremors this winter in the northeast of your country. Also, there will be earthquakes in Italy. In 1990, other earthquakes will be felt in Central America. Peru will have a major earthquake in the mountainous areas, and it will cause much loss of life. But this is only the beginning. During these next 5 years, many changes will come to Earth, but none will be so terrible as the ones which will come to the Asian part of this world. Earthquakes will be felt in Japan and India. This will be unusual, for in India there have not been earthquakes of this size for centuries. The droughts which are affecting the world will continue. Those who reside on the African continent will be most affected, but other parts of the world will also begin to feel the droughts. The middle part of Russia will have floods and rains, which will be unequaled in their damage. This isolated part of the world will be in the news and become known worldwide. You will see religions begin to crumble, and there will be derision amongst the church elders. The Catholic Church will begin to lose much of its power. There will be a call for the unity of all religions as church leaders find their numbers falling. This is because many will begin to seek their knowledge through spiritual means and through the work of the mind. The churches which grow will be those who profess to the world the idea of the one God. These are events which will happen in the next year or two. You will see that this is all true when these events begin to transpire. You will see that it is all real. Put your faith in the one God and know in your heart that these messages are real. Prepare your heart and your mind to receive more. During the next 2 years, there will begin to be changes on the earth through the earthquakes which I have predicted. As I have told you, there will be changes in the weather patterns. Now allow me to tell you about the other changes which will occur in the first years of the last decade, which is, we're going to start with 1990 to 1992. 1990 to 1992. Your government leaders will be getting the messages of some unusual occurrences in the tidal flows. The oceans will begin to churn, and there will be evidence of changing patterns in the way the currents flow. Some places which have depended on the warm currents will not be getting them as expected. The winds will become unsettled and unpredictable. There will be tornadoes in areas where there have never been tornadoes. Hurricanes will come out of season. These changes will be caused by the shifting molten masses in the interior of the earth. Inside the earth, the changes are already occurring. The polar ice caps will begin to break apart. There will be concern that the seas will flood many land masses. This will begin slowly and be unpredictable. During these years, there will be changes in the atmosphere as it begins to act differently. In the news during this year, there will begin to be predictions about the coming events. There will be many who will still doubt, but some of the scientists will come out in favor of having research to study the changing patterns around the globe. Countries which have been hostile to each other will begin dialogue on this all-important topic. 1993. As I have told you, there will be 3 events which will affect the whole of planet Earth. These 3 events will not take place simultaneously, but will have 2 or more years between them. The first will occur in the year 1993. In this year, the weather will be extremely violent. For a period of time, there will be hurricanes, tornadoes, tidal waves of huge magnitudes, and cyclones. The winter months will bring harsh cold conditions. Each hemisphere will find this to be true. As one hemisphere is in the grips of a harsh winter, the other hemisphere will have torrential rains, mudslides, and floods. There will also be There will also be floods, mudslides, and torrential rains in all parts of the globe in this time period. At this time, your government leaders around the world will become concerned. There will be speculation about the end of the world. Many will turn to churches which will not lead them to their own God connection. Many people will give money to these churches, thinking this will save them. There will be prayer vigils to placate God. But this will not help, as this will be only the beginning of the end of this era. 1993 on. So I don't know what she means by on. I can only assume till present date, unless she says differently. There will be tremors felt all around the world. It will seem that the whole planet is undergoing an earthquake at the same time. These tremors will cause much damage around the world. You will still have worldwide news coverage, so you will hear about other parts of the world. Most places will have little damage and few injuries, but some areas will sustain much damage and even death from falling buildings and debris. The world leaders will be in an uproar and will begin consulting amongst each other. It will be in this year that the scientists will bring gathered data out into the open. I'm so sorry, somebody must be walking by. The nations of the world will be concerned, as they should. Much planning and many preparations for the future earthquakes will begin. The weather will become more violent, and the storms from this year on will take on tremendous proportions. It will seem as if the heavens have opened an avalanche of storms. In 1994, the state and city of New York will begin to be flooded with swollen seashores. The waters along this coast will rise, and much of New York City will have to be evacuated. The evacuation will be permanent, but at the beginning, many will think it is temporary. I'm going to go and see what's going on. Hold on. Okay, sorry. Oh, there he goes again. The person walked away, but there he goes again. Okay. In this year, which is 1994, still talking about New York, the polar ice caps will have begun to melt, and that will be cited as the reason for the flooding. In reality, the Earth will have already begun to sink in preparation for the major event. Along this coast, there will be earthquakes and unusual electrical storms. The storms will intensify and add to the problem of the flooding. The southern part of this country will have its problems, but they will seem minor in comparison. The Gulf will rise, and the state of Florida will lose much of its land back to the sea. During these mid-years, other parts of the world will be experiencing major earthquakes and mudslides. The lower hemisphere will have a harsh winter. Much snow will accumulate in places which have never had snow before. This will send an alarm throughout the world. By then, the changing climate will have intensified and become noticeable. In the year 1995, the giant earthquake will happen in California, and the sea will recover that part of the country. The Pacific Ocean will begin not to be peaceful, as its name implies. The California coast will be racked by giant earthquakes. The giant earthquakes will also hit in other parts of the world, such as Italy, Greece, Russia, Turkey, China, Colombia, and in the Himalayan mountains. This will be the year of the giant earthquakes. The earthquakes which have come before will seem small in comparison with these giant monsters. As these next few years go by, many earthquakes will happen in Japan in varying intensity. Japan will have already been experiencing many earthquakes and will not be concerned by them. The mid-Pacific islands will begin to grow as volcanoes under the sea spout forth their lava. The South Seas islands will grow the most. Those islands which have the large statues will come back to their original size, and the land will be forested as it was in the past. Now, the rest of the world will not be without its torments also. This will be the year of the giant storms. The storms all over the world will be tremendous. Tornadoes will come out of nowhere and happen in places which have never had tornadoes before. Rains will be relentless in many parts of the world. The weather forecasters will be at a loss as to how to predict the unpredictable. During this year, South Africa will begin to feel the tremors and trembling of the earth as it is off-centered. The orbit in the last part of this year will begin to change, and it will have a slight swing in its direction, which will be noticeable to your scientists. And that is talking about still, I believe, 1994, I think. 1995. The years after this will have all manner of occurrences taking place. In the last 5 years, UFOs will be seen almost daily. They will come in great numbers and will try to make your governments on Earth understand that they come in peace. I don't care if they say they come in peace, the government still will hide what comes in peace, because anything that could help us be less reliant upon them or any risk of it, they won't have that. They will set up stations in areas of the world which are not as inhabited. There are but a few of these areas left, but high in the mountains and in some of the desert areas, they will set up substations. On other planets which are near Earth, there are already stations which have been prepared and are being stocked for man's arrival. In the last days, these will hold many people for survival. The sky in the last 5 years will be very active, and there will be many new stars discovered and seen by the naked eye. There will be comets which will come through your solar system. These will be new comets and some very old comets which have not been in this part of the universe in millions of years. This is the year when most people will look to the church and to their religious leaders. There will be vigils and prayer meetings in which multitudes will seek to placate God. The churches will be blaming God and telling its people, this is punishment for all the sins of the past. Not true. Dear ones, these are not punishments, but are brought on by your acts and the acts of your ancestors. There has been a complete disregard for the earth as a planet. The collective consciousness has been steeped in fear and anger. Somehow, these pressures must be released. It is not God who will be punishing you, but the planet herself. And simply, it's not really even punishing, it's that she has to adjust to our energy, to our actions. So it's really just her adjusting. I don't think that she does it going, I'm punishing you. But and that will be how it's seen. For people to say it's God, no, it's the planet. And it's not God, and it's us that has caused the planet to do this. And our ancestors, which we can't really do much about that, but change our own way, heal our wounds and our ancestral wounds, and raise our thoughts and vibrations. We do have the power. Mother Nature, as you call her, is the planet Earth. She is the one who has been abused and ignored all these many years. All educated people know that for any action, there is a reaction. What you did not know is that this is true in all parts of the universe as well. There is, at times, such a lag time that you forget the action which started the reaction. The pollution of the earth is the cause of the severity of the coming storms and earthquakes. So listen up, influencers, if you are one, with the hyper-consumerism and the restocking of all these plastic and one-time use things. It's not worth it. It's not. Sorry, that was a personal opinion coming through, and I apologize for that, but it really does, it does hurt and upset me when I see so much waste, so much waste. The pollution of the earth is the cause, okay. It is the planet trying to save itself by fighting back. All the brains in the world will not be able to stop the onslaught of the earth's rages. You cannot keep on polluting the seas and the forest without the planet herself taking a defensive position. As the earth gains ground in her fight with man, she will become the aggressor and will put you through much unnecessary pain. In your country, America, the areas which will suffer the most will be the West Coast as it disappears, and the East Coast as it also takes its turn being destroyed. New York will not stand again as the giant trade center. Ooh, here we go. It has polluted the world the most with its greed and its worship of power and money. This will be the year that the trading centers of the world will be destroyed by the planet herself. Does anybody remember exactly when the World Trade Centers fell? I want to say it was in the early 2000s. I was already graduated from high school in 2000. I graduated. I want to say it was in 2000 or 2001. But we are getting more up into talking about 1993 on. More earthquakes will be felt, but perhaps not as severely as the ones before. Japan will continue to feel the earth as it trembles and moves. It will shake loose Japan's power center, and they will be caring for their own and will not be able to take advantage of the world situation for gain. The Indies will be besieged by storms, but these will not evacuate its population. The African continent will find its long-lost volcanoes, which have been extinct for centuries. This continent will also be ravaged by famines, as it has been before. In this year, the people of the Arabian nations will not find the comfort of their fellow man, for every nation will have its own disaster to contend with. The people of the deserts will have too much rain and not know how to deal with the weather. The Arabian nations will also have their share of earthquakes and other natural disasters. Not one nation will stand untouched, for every nation has added to the pain the planet Earth has sustained. Through this whole sad scene will come hope, and the people of the nations will begin to turn their individual concepts of God. Each man, woman, and child will begin to seek his maker. The attitude of the collective consciousness will have changed, and it will be an attitude of humility and fear. I come to tell you beforehand, seek God and look for the answers to your spiritual questions ahead of time. For in these last few years, you will be too busy maintaining your sanity and your individual lives. Through all the disasters, commerce and trade will continue among the nations. The leaders of the world will band together and seek answers to questions which should have been handled in past years. But the cooperation and the attitude of togetherness will sustain the world. It will be in these years that some of the aliens will suddenly appear to your world leaders and offer help. It will be as if the angel of the Lord had come to help. But surely you who have the knowledge beforehand will see the workings of the whole universe to save mankind. With a new attitude, your world leaders will be ready to hear of ways to save the populations and of the coming turning of the earth. The extraterrestrials, as you call them, will be of much help, but still your leaders will not want to give any hint that these negotiations are transpiring. The people of the world will be in a mood of humbleness and genuine seeking of God. This is good, for through last-minute seeking, many will be spared their spiritual lives and advancement. God will help anyone who truly and sincerely seeks him. He does not care that you have wasted, perhaps, the whole lifetime on earth. It's the sincere seeking of your soul which pleases God. Excuse me. I think this is our last page right here. These are truly the final years, as you see, for the next big happening will be the turning point of the planet Earth onto its side, as it juggles and shakes the oceans out of their beds, and new ground is brought up from the depths of the ocean. The new lands will appear in these last years. Atlantis will rise and become known. There were two great civilizations who reached your era of technology in antiquity, Atlantis and Pacifica, or Lemuria. This civilization was called Pacifica, as it was truly a peaceful place, but you know it as Lemuria. These civilizations also had to endure these tragedies, as you on Earth will. This is not the first time this era of technology has been reached. It is not the only time the planet has been abused and neglected. In these old eras, the people also become puffed up with their own self-importance. They also thought their technology had all the answers. Because of their complete lack of spiritual values, all was lost. This time, I have been given permission to warn you ahead of time. It will be by the prayers and meditations of a few that many will be saved. It will be by those who earnestly pray and meditate for all mankind that the technology and advancements of this era will not be lost for all time. Okay, So that was the first 20 pages of chapter 2, which is Mary's predictions. So ending on that, again, don't let anything scare you. Take this and heed her advice. And if nothing comes of these things that she's predicting of the future, know in your heart that maybe you had something to do with that if you took the time to pray, not just for yourself and your loved ones, but for the world, for the earth. Pray in earnest and meditate. Focus your prayers and meditations on those things, and know that if things aren't as severe as you thought or did not come to pass, that you may indeed have played a part in that. Use the violet flame. It's an amazing tool for transmuting anything negative, not just for yourself or your loved ones, but for the planet, for the world, for anything that you can think of. If you see something on the news that is sad or disheartening, say the violet flame. I am invoking the violet flame, and I ask that it transmute anything less than love and light too. And then insert what or who you're saying it for. Anything than love and light to the world. And let it be that. Let it be done. Say it every time you think about it. Say whatever prayers you are comfortable with, but go to God as He is your friend and speak to Him exactly where He is, which is right here. Not up there. Doesn't have to be in a church. You carry God with you wherever you go in your life, and He is everywhere and nowhere, all at the same time. He is in the very center of the atom of every atom of our being and of everything on this planet. So with that being said, thank you very much for joining me. I love you all very much, and I will see you for the last half of chapter 2, Mary's predictions, in Mary's message to the world. See you again soon. Bye-bye.